Hey, Bernie Sanders, the billionaires are fleeing. Not from Vermont, but California. Well, and New York as well. But a billionaire tax has some of the most famous, important people heading to Florida, to Texas, to Tennessee, anywhere they can see less of their money going to not Uncle Sam, but the states that want to do whatever they can with it. Socialism indeed. Today we'll tell you why it's affecting the entertainment industry and sinking the biggest media markets on the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back yet again to another video of excellence as we dive into the Holly Weirds. We understand them with a zeal that even they can feel, and we know them better than they know themselves. Folks, as we go into this one, it's a huge story. Click the like button, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts, and if we have not yet earned your subscription, just know that every day, 4 times a day, we're working hard for it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. Geez Louise, how badly can they mess up? Well, you know, they just burned down in the last year an area inside LA the size of the city of Paris. They burned it down. They have, though. They have. Lauren, they've built one house back, I understand. There's one house from an area the size of the city. They built one house back. So, you know, kudos to them. They're doing great. And Gavin Newsom, after seeing that, there was no water. But after having no water to put out fires and watching that catastrophe happen, he's probably going to run for president. So California, they really know what they're doing over there. Take a look at this, though. I will ruin the name, so I'm just not even going to try. It's at Shamath, I'm going to guess. Unfortunate update as of today. More calls from friends. The total wealth that has left California is now $1 trillion. Goes on to say, we had $2 trillion of billionaire wealth just a few weeks ago. Now, 50% of that wealth has left, taking their income tax revenue, sales tax revenue, real estate tax revenue, and all their staffs and their salaries and income taxes with them. In other words, by starting this ill-conceived attempt at an asset tax, the California budget deficit will explode, and we still don't know if the tax will even make the ballot. California billionaires were reliable taxpayers, 13.3% every year. They were, and by the way, we're not talking about the federal tax rate. They were the sheep you could shear forever. Because, hey, they love the weather. Now, California will lose this revenue source forever. Unless this ballot initiative is pulled, we will not stop the billionaire exodus. With no rich people left in California, the middle class will have to foot the bill. Now, we bring this up, Lou. We believe it's true. Go ahead.
Correction. It doesn't matter if it makes the ballot. The threat of it ever making the ballot is enough for people to leave.
Walk us through, Lou, what this is doing to the state of California.
Well, remember, everybody who leaves takes their businesses with them, which means all their employees and their vendors that service their business and everything else get left in the lurch too. I've always told the story. When we were getting ready to leave 8 years ago, there was a story about a guy up in Silicon Valley who had retired from IT with millions of dollars, and he owned 5 houses, the one he lived in and 4 that he rented out. And he decided to move, I think, to Colorado Springs, and he went around to the 4 people in the 4 rental houses and told them, I'm going to be selling the houses, so I don't know what your deal is going to be. And when he explained it, they said, are you going to do it again over there? They said, yes. All 5 families left. All 5.
Now, the reason that we're covering this, Lou, and I take the point very well, and you know what? You left California too, so you were ahead of the curve here.
I didn't have $1 trillion to be taxed, but I certainly did leave, yes, for that and a lot of other reasons.
I would like to add another correction, though, too, that the middle class is actually already the ones that are footing the bill because they can't afford to pay for the people to help them work the books so that they're not paying it. And that's why they also can't afford to leave California, even though they want to.
So I just want people to know this is actually real. And I can go get more sources. You don't believe Fox Business? Fine. We'll go get more. It's okay. But Fox Business is reporting by Amanda Macias, California wealth tax proposal hemorrhages $1 trillion as billionaires flee. The reason I'm bringing this up, the reason this is important to us in what we do here on this channel, California has been historically the center for entertainment. The entertainment industry thrives and survives in California. And the second market, what's the second biggest market for media, Lou? Where's that at?
Well, New York.
Yeah. What's New York up to? What's New York up to, Lou?
Well, they're trying to drive everybody away too, and it's working.
So they just
Gavin is actually going to have some competition from Mamdani about who's going to be the U-Haul salesman of the year this year, I think. So at least there's that. But
right. So folks, if you're, okay, you didn't like Fox, you didn't like what the guy said on X. The Times out of England, California's billionaire tax fuels panic. Some will leave the U.S. tax system forever. Here's the deal. The two biggest media markets in the U.S. are collapsing under socialism. This billionaire tax is not even on the ballot, and $1 trillion just left California. What do you think is going to happen in New York? All the people, all the naysayers who said it'll never happen in New York, that's the big apple, people will stay no matter what. Screw that. That is not what we're seeing at all. People have had enough after the pandemic. They've seen what happens in these places, and they're moving. Listen, Silicon Valley has essentially now exodused itself out to Texas, Florida, and Tennessee. Where did XAI go? Tennessee. Where did SpaceX go? Texas and Florida. Where did Tesla go? Texas. Or where did Tesla go? Texas. And we can keep going and going. We can name all of these places. We can name all of these companies that are done, right? Oracle, done with California. You can keep going through the list. And nobody else is going to stay there either. Because here's the deal. These billionaires, this tax is so ridiculous that if it were to be enacted, not only will it retroactively hurt them, but it also goes after their assets, aka the state will come into their businesses. It's insane. And this is why the future and AI and all of those data centers are going to go to red states. This is the dumbest thing they've ever done at the worst time they could do it. And I'm afraid that entertainment is truly going to migrate away from these places to new spots.
Just news today. I knew I'd seen it somewhere, so I looked it up. Do you know who's leaving New York for Virginia?
Tell me, please.
Charles Schwab.
Oh, yeah, Schwab. Yeah, I think I read that.
That's just a minor little company, right? But they're moving to Richmond, Virginia. So,
and Virginia, it's a purple state, sort of. It's a very bluish purple. But Andy, what do you make of this idea that the only people left in California are going to be the celebrities and the homeless?
Well, I've been in here in New Jersey where everybody's been doing I think we're at the top of the Exodus map for the last 5-6 years or so because things are so bad here. Everybody's going south to Florida or Texas, Tennessee, different places, but it's California is doing its best to drive everybody. I really feel bad for the people that are up like in Northern California where they can't afford to leave. They can't get out. And I want to see what's going to happen when their tax base just evaporates, because the only reason they can do the things they do is because they make so much money. But when you kill the golden goose, you don't get any more eggs. And apparently Newsom must have flunked that part of biology class.
Right, and it doesn't come back. It doesn't come back. If you kill the goose doesn't resurrect itself. Like once, and this is the thing too, guys. Go back just a couple decades. We were still singing songs about California. We were still singing about Beverly Hills. That's where I want to be, baby, right? No more. Nobody sings anything about that anymore, right? Nobody sings about Tent City. The songs are gone.
Before I moved here, I went to the Opry one time, and the Gatlin brothers were singing about all the gold. And California is in a bank in Beverly Hills. I said, all of mine is, but I'm getting it out as fast as I can.
I feel like today you could put on a show that's the inverted Beverly Hillbillies. It's about some pompous person who moves, to Nashville or whatever. You could do that, or Kentucky, right? You could do the inversion. It would make more sense. It doesn't make that much sense in the original way. Lauren, when it comes to the taxes, just even the whiff, the sniff of this has billionaires already saying, I'm out. I don't want to be, because they've talked about this being retroactive and punitive. Like if you had the money a year ago, they're going to go after you. The billionaires are saying, no way. I worked so hard to get where I am, and I'm leaving, and I'm gone, and I don't know where they're going to be. They may flee the U.S. entirely. But California, New York are going to absolutely be exodused in very short order. Already, Lord, I don't know if you know this, more than half of New York, which is the second biggest media market, more than half of the children in New York have an immigrant parent. Not saying that's right, bad, wrong, good, whatever. But that's where we are today. as more and more Americans flee these states?
Well, they wanted to dabble with their idea of socialism, and what has happened at the states is what happens in countries that do this. And you end up in a death loop as they have all of these programs that are essentially designed to buy votes. They say they're giving you all kinds of free stuff, but there's no such thing as a free lunch. And eventually, the people who are able to be fleeced get wise to the game, they leave. That leaves the people that don't have any money to spare. And when that happens, the entire system collapses. And the only way that you can maintain order at that point is usually through authoritarianism. Now, we're not in a country where that is the kind of thing that will happen, but it is going to lead to some states that are in some pretty serious jeopardy and probably some pretty wide industries that are going to collapse. My fear of all of this is that the people that voted for these policies are now going to be migrating to those red states and likely taking their high-minded ideals with them. I don't want them to be voting that way. They need to learn a lesson. So there's a part of me that wants to lock them in their states and say, nope, you broke it, you bought it.
Oh my, oh my.
Well, that is the number one voiced fear you hear living where I live. And it ain't so.
I agree with you, Lou.
It just ain't so.
And the reason I agree with Lou, I looked at this statistically. The last time I checked this, it was something like 70% of the people who go to a new place agree with the place they're going to. Otherwise, why would they do it? Now, there are some differences. There's some variations. For example, of the people who are moving to Texas, those who disagree with the politics of Texas, they're going to Austin in numbers that are just crazy.
Sure.
Now, real quick, though,
I'm
I'm going to tell
Austin. It always has been.
Yeah. People that have already left California, just since this got, suggested. Larry Page, Google co-founder, Larry Page. What's his worth? Ladies and gentlemen, $260 billion. He's a Floridian today. First time ever in his life. Larry Page has moved to Florida. $260 billion, and that one man left California and went to Florida. Sergey Brin, also out of there. Another co-founder of Google, taking his, $170 billion? Florida. Again. This is the story. And, the celebrities, they fancy themselves socialists, but they're going to be all alone over there on the West Coast. Wiz, your thoughts?
Yeah, we this is a very important topic because it also crosses, it's not just the billionaires. Like we talk about the billionaires here, and that's what this is about. But something I want to keep in mind here is there's still all of those people, because there's people leaving and going to other states, like we just said, but there's still considerable amounts of people that are trapped in these states and they want to get out, but they can't. And those people are usually kind of forgotten about in these discussions. And we want to say things like, oh, well, you know what? They voted for it. They get what they deserve. Now, there's considerable amounts of people that voted against this, but are confined for one reason or another to being stuck in those states. These states are hellholes. It's not so easy to just leave. And I want to continue throwing that sentiment out because it's so easy to say, they get what they voted for. You see it on any of the news channels. They say that. Fox News, Hannity was saying, they get what they deserve in New York. Really? Because there was a ton of people that voted against it, but they were overpowered. And that's something to always be considerate of in these conversations, that it's really hard for a lot of people. And it's we talk about, coming into the other states and perhaps bringing their politics with them. But it's like, actually, we shouldn't just throw away these states because there's lots of people. There's probably
Lauren, get in.
People that are trapped.
I want Lauren to get in, but Steve, hang on to what Wiz just said. I'm coming to you, and I bet you know why. Go ahead, Lauren.
Right, and not disagreeing with you at all, Fake Wizard. I was making the joke facetiously, but I live in Washington State, and so I'm in a state that's trying to out California. I'm living in a state trying to out California, and traditionally the way that it worked here was that there was a pretty even split based on the Cascades, where the east side of the state was very red, the west side of the state was very blue, but everything is determined by King County in this state, which meant that no matter what we do, we're kind of stuck here, as you said, and many of us can't move out. I used to have some hope that we might eventually get a conservative governor. But the one time that we did, they actually had 6 vote recounts until we didn't. And so, you kind of learn at a certain point, it's like, all right, it doesn't matter how we vote. It's not going to matter at all. And as it happens, now we have, in my community especially, a whole bunch of retirees from the East Side who have realized that this is a great retirement community. So my own community within the state is now being invaded, and we've become much more purple on this side. So
now this is such an awesome point, because in the United States, each state is essentially like its own country. And in Europe, some people understand that. So you got to explain it sometimes, but each state really is like its own country. And the thing is, in the United States, if New York does something really stupid, or California, or Washington State, with great expense, and it's no fun to do so, but you can move, you can pick up, you can get the U-Haul and get out of there. Steve, the problem is that countries have been doing this. And when it happens in a country, and by the way, if enough of the U.S. did this as well, it'd be a problem. And we were almost there at the tipping point. Steve, just like you can't change what happens in California or Washington State because they won't allow it, you're in Canada. Nothing's changing in Canada these days, eh?
Nope. I mean, everything that everyone's saying, I'm just like, yes and amen. Because I know, obviously, very practically the implications. But when it's on a national level, it's a whole other degree, right? And that's where, like, I envy how the United States has the states being isolated in terms of, like, now obviously what happens to California still can impact the rest of the country, but it's far less likely, unlike Canada, where if something happens in Ontario, it's going to affect everybody. And because of the way that our whole system is set up, we have, like, we have representation by I can't remember the actual term, but basically by percentage, right? So if you by just certain numbers. So it's like, I think it's every 150,000 Canadians get an MP. That's probably a wrong number, but that's essentially kind of the thing to work from. So Toronto, there's like 1 million MPs that are all in just Toronto. So we do not have the ability, if you live outside of Toronto, to actually influence anything that takes place in Ontario, because everything happens in Toronto, which is why the whole thing becomes Toronto is the center of the universe. But that principle applies everywhere. So as soon as, because of, again, the way that our electoral system is set up, basically once Ontario is done voting for federal elections, it literally is over, because Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, BC, the territories up north, they have like a fraction of the seats of just Toronto alone. Never mind all of Eastern Canada. So it's just a giant dumpster fire.
It does make you wonder what the property values are in Greenland.
Right.
Oh, our good friends in Greenland. Maybe even more than friends soon. That's right. So California, currently, the best estimates is that it has a GDP of $4.1 trillion, and that's bigger than a lot of countries out there. Texas, though, catching up rapidly. Texas already bigger than New York. Florida not behind that, and I think, especially given the fact that the census the last time, people really have big questions about it and think that some of the states were treated poorly in that census, and you know which ones were treated poorly, folks. The power, and not only the power, but pay attention to this, the culture is going to go to new states. They're not going to be singing songs about California. They're not going to be singing songs about New York by Frank Sinatra. People are going to be singing more about Texas and Florida and North Carolina and Tennessee and Montana. We'd like some songs about Montana, right? It's just blue sky country, but anyway, big sky country. Anyway, that's the story, folks. They put that out there. People said, no way. California, New York, they're too big. You can't. They'll stay. What are the billionaires going to do? Where could they possibly go? Oh, they went to Florida. Every single time. And now, where entertainment and culture will be made there no more. Gone. Out the door. Goodbye to the billionaires. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We are done for now, but don't worry. Do not fret. Not yet, for more content is still coming your way 4 times a day right here on the Pro Channel. What a joy it has been to share our time with you. We hope you feel the same. Adding value to your every single day is our job here, and we take it very seriously. Folks, the only thing we ask in return is that you consider clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it. Stick it to those algorithms. It's the notification bell. And drop a comment right on down below. And folks, if you'd like to subscribe to our partner YouTube channels, That Part Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and some of those radio stations like Vacation Radio, well, we certainly would appreciate it. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time and being invited into your day, folks, we go on our way saying this: keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.